sounds like there's a bass player or something.
Hey, Steve, sit in the front. We need some type of voice block.
That's Charles' shirt. Well, this is a big shirt. It's saying, okay,
Hey,
don't
you can taste the
that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
You guys can be rowdy the whole time?
Yeah.
This is the adults. These are the kids.
Wait a minute, did you have that right?
Women and children over here.
The kids are here.
Sure, if you want to. You know, we
You
don't have a huge crowd.
throw tennis balls at you and see if you can hit a lot in the middle of the beat. That's part of the ballistics you play and you just tennis ball.
That's actually a good idea. That's a very good idea.
Racquetballs probably work better because then they don't hurt quite so much.
All right, well, thank you guys for being here tonight. We don't have a huge group, and I'm okay with that. This was actually sort of my intention here is to give myself sort of a drier run at conducting my own clinic, which you all know me, so you know I teach and I do this kind of stuff for a living. I've been doing this for a while. But this is a little bit of a different context. I'm actually going to be showing you stuff that I do personally and giving you guys an opportunity to see that and talk to me about what I do. It's not very often, especially these days, in a local situation that you see like a very large drum set and someone playing it and probably playing a lot of stuff that you guys don't normally play. I'm also doing some new things with technology. I'm finding or otherwise creating tracks to play along with that's basically music minus drums. And like this stuff exists, but it's kind of hard to find for the genres of music I like to play. So that's kind of new, and so I got myself a little mixer over here. I'm using my iPhone to play my music. It's running through the mixer here. I'm using just a couple mics to pick up some of the drums, which is also going through the mixer. And you're going to hear the music coming out of the PA systems. Hopefully you won't hear the drums so much through the PA. But I also have a line outputting from this PA system into, I don't even remember who makes it, but I see that little white thing on top of the PA there? That's a little device that allows me to input any sort of audio signal into an iPhone or iOS device. So what I'm doing is, everything that you're going to hear in this room is coming out of that little white box and going into my iPad back there. And so I'm videotaping this with better sound quality than you would get off a normal iPad microphone. So I'm experimenting with some technology here, which is new for me, so I'm kind of giving myself a dry run at that. And I'm going to be playing a bunch of songs for you guys that you may or may not be familiar with. A lot of it's going to be harder rock in nature, so like you guys might be into it. I know you guys are more like blues, top 40 kind of stuff. That's cool. You know, I do that. I do that too. So, but tonight you're going to be seeing a lot of harder stuff, but no death metal. You know, I decided not to do any death metal. So pretty much the format here is going to be kind of play it by ear. Like I got some songs I've been playing for years with bands, and so I picked some of those. I'm going to play along with some of those songs. And in between songs, if stuff comes up that you guys are curious about, you can talk to me about it, ask me questions, or make comments, whatever. I want it to be fun and educational, but you know, I'll let you guys drive it. I just have some songs I've been working on. So, decided I'm going to start off with something kind of easy. This is an old Metallica song, came out of their Ride the Lightning album, which I believe came out in '84. Before you were born, before any of you guys were. I don't know what you are, but I was 4 years old back then. And my music, I grew up on this stuff. Graduated college.
Has your voice gone? I am not very good.
you guys may have noticed this, there's a lot of space in this whole song. You know, this is one of those songs where you have to really appreciate the space between the notes. It's a lot of openness. It's not fast. There's not a lot of crazy fills or anything in it. For drummers, there's a lot of triplets in it, like in the bass drum. So what I'm doing here, so what I'm doing is, if you want to call it sticking, I'm doing right, left, right, and then snare. So you're really just doing this to get up. That's pretty easy to do, but it sounds faster than it actually is. So that's something that actually, like, if you listen to a lot of particularly older Metallica stuff, that's something that Lars Ulrich does a lot, is that little lick, that triplet lick into a snare or a crash. Alright, so I'm going to go on to the next song unless you guys have any questions about that one.
There was one really cool thing you did over here, and I think you hit 3 toms, and then at the end a couple of it was a fill, and it was so fast I couldn't really tell what you were doing. You did it several times.
I mean, the fastest fill that I did in this song was something like that.
It was a right, left, right on the toms, and then I think it ended with 2. Okay, slow that down. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's actually
I like that.
it's right, left, right with your hands,
Okay.
and then same thing with your feet. And the trick with that one is getting all the notes even. When they're not even, it sounds sloppy and it's hard to hear. It's like when someone slurs when they talk to you. You know, if you're not playing it cleanly.
Right.
So, but if you're playing it cleanly, it sounds really freaking cool. I mean, while we're on that topic, you'll notice as I play some of these other songs later, I'll be doing all this stuff between my hands and my feet. Maybe I'll talk more about it later, but it sounds a lot harder than it actually is. It's a lot of this kind of stuff. But later on, I'll start using some fills like this. Really all I'm doing is like groups of 2 or 4 between the hands and the feet. And I mean, isolated. Like that's like all it would be with your hands and your feet. Combination of that. But you can just throw it in there and get it kind of a little quicker between your hands and your feet. You do have to practice to get to that point, but it's like they're really cool sounding fills that sound really hard and technical, but they're really not that bad. Once you slow it down and isolate it and know what it is, then it's just a matter of getting it a little bit quicker. So I'll be doing more of that kind of stuff. Alright, excuse me. Does anybody know Master of Puppets by Metallica? Alright, it's one of their more famous songs, but it's an older song. It wasn't like on the radio. It was on MTV though. So I'll do that one next. It's a longer song. It's like an 8-minute song. It's kind of like a... This is an interesting song because it actually follows like a form. It's not just an A, B, A, B, C, A, B form, like, you know, verse, chorus, something else, verse, chorus. It's not like that. There's some of that going on. But it's like almost like an essay. They have like musical motifs all over this song. So see if you can identify some of those. So that's actually the most requested song that we have, so we pretty much play that every single show. There's actually a lot of odd meters in that song, some weirdness, but it's fun. Any questions about that one?
Is it like 3/4 and a 3, 3/4 and a 3? For the first part, then you go to 6/8 in the middle, and then you go back to a 4.
You know, I don't really count it out anymore, I just feel it, but you know, I have seen it written down before. It's something like, there's like a 7/16 measure in there.
Okay, that would make
It like drops to the 16th though. It's like,
that's 3/4 and a 3.
What's funny though is when Metallica recorded this originally, they didn't record it with a click track. It was just all organic. So even though it's actually an odd meter, you can actually play it as if it wasn't an odd meter and it still works. Because they kind of stretch the timing out a little bit. It's almost like, all right, for you guys, like if you're talking about, let's say, swing music, how are you going to interpret like? Are you going to think of it like triplets, or is it going to be more like 16ths? You know, you can interpret it somewhere in between there too. You know, like. So like what they're actually doing with the odd meter on the record, I don't think they were conscious of this because back then they didn't really know anything about music, they could just play. But they kind of did something in between there, so it's sort of an odd meter and it's sort of straight, somewhere in between. So it works either way actually. I've tried it with a metronome before. Anyway. All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is that the first time you hit the right signal of those two songs?
Probably.
And is that common with heavy metal? Or just...
Not necessarily. It just depends on the song.
Yeah. I mean, I never saw you.
The songs that I picked out for tonight, there's actually not a lot of ride cymbal stuff in there. But there are other songs where, you'll see I have a ride cymbal over here as well. There's other songs where I actually use both ride cymbals in the songs. There's two reasons for it. One might be, I want to play a pattern that really needs two hands, but I don't want to be stretching way over here, so I'll just do it like this. But then sometimes I actually want a different sound. Hard rock ride, I actually really love this cymbal for it, but I'm not crazy about the bell. It's not bad, I'm just not particularly crazy about it, so if there's a song where I need to play a bell, I like this bell better. It cuts through, it's a little bit more brilliant. But you run into another issue when you're playing like this. You guess what that is?
Independent.
I'm playing ambidextrously.
Yeah, right.
I'm not playing like a right-handed drummer or a left-handed drummer. I'm going back and forth. Which is actually kind of like easier for me. I have a little bit of an advantage because I am ambidextrous. But I just happened to learn drum set as a right-handed player. But transitioning to do left-handed stuff has been kind of natural for me. So it's not a big deal for me, but for I think most people it probably is. But when you play like a right-handed kit, left-handed, I actually call that open-handed. So like instead of playing like this, your hands are open. Actually, I think I'm going to do this really, really fast song next. And I'll actually play open-handed quite a bit on this, because there's some stuff I need to do on the tom-toms that's just not practical to do with my hands crossed over. We'll see how it goes.
just how fast, what is that?
I don't know.
Run and
I don't know what the tempo marking is on that.
but it was all, you were on the beat with your snare, right? You weren't going in between. I mean, you were just flat out just rolling those.
I think that it's probably around 150 beats per minute, I'm guessing.
Straight ahead roll on it.
Yeah,
16, 800 feet, 50 feet.
so this is why I don't run. Yeah, if I get a good hour where I can play like fast stuff like this, it really does get your heart rate up. You have to condition yourself for this kind of stuff. Even if you can play this fast, playing that fast for that long and hitting hard. It's fun though, it's a fun challenge. It's like a physical fun
Yeah, so
challenge.
for those type of songs, it's better to have two bass instead of having a double pedal.
You know, that's a preference. Who's at the Casey Grillo clinic? I know you were. Anybody else? No? You were at that one? Huh? Well, I asked, so Casey's the drummer for a band called Camelot, and I had him for a clinic maybe 2 months ago. And he's another double bass player that plays, like when he plays live, his kit's as big or bigger than mine, but for his clinic, he just played a smaller kit, but he played with a double bass pedal. And I asked him, you know, sometimes when I get up in the morning, I can sit down and I feel like I can play anything I want to. Like, it's not an issue. And then other days I get up and like the same stuff I played yesterday, I just feel like I can't pull it off today. And so I asked him about it, and he kind of said, you know, it's really just a matter of persistence and consistency, just making sure everything's the same all the time. All right, my point is what I've found learning to play double bass is sometimes when I sit down and I play and I feel like I can do whatever I want, it's more of a mental thing. Like I'm finding the right foot placement on the pedal. The pedals are exactly the spring tension that I want. And then other days if I sit down at it, if something's just a little bit off, like even if my seat is like an inch off, it totally messes up how you feel when you're playing. So this song, for instance, to play that fast double bass stuff, I found that if I back my feet up, so if this is the pedal, I can't be right up here because I have to push it a long way to get to the head. But if I play back here, I can tap it just a little bit, and then it's also going to spring back. So what I'm actually kind of doing is almost like dribbling a basketball. Just going like this. I'm actually not using much effort to do that. So sometimes I get in the zone where I'm able to do this with both feet, and it's staggered and even. And so I'm not putting a lot of effort into it. The effort that I'm putting into it is just making sure I'm staying in time. But then other times I sit down and do it, and I feel like it's really laborious. Like I really have to use my leg to get it going. But at the end of the day, it's really a personal preference thing. Casey really likes playing with a double pedal, but what he does live is he'll have two bass drums, but he's not using the second one. He's got a double pedal on the right bass drum, and the left one's there just for visual, just a decoy. And apparently a lot of double bass players are going to that because engineers are having an easier time with that. Instead of trying to EQ two bass drums in a mix, they just have to worry about that one. Two pedals on one bass drum, one sound. But what I don't like about that is when you play with a double pedal on one drum, you get kind of a slapback effect. You can kind of hear it in the sound. It's like when you hit the head and it decompresses, when it comes back up and you hit it with the other stick, it almost pops the sound. And you might notice this on a floor tom. When I do that, it's resonating pretty evenly, but when I go at a certain speed and find that spot, that second note gets like a slapback. So you get that on the bass drum too.
Right.
So what I like about having two bass drums is I don't get that. Like I'm never going to play on one drum when I have two drums. And I feel like it's open more, it's beefier sounding. I don't even care that they sound different. Like I feel like it just adds to the sound. So that's just my preference. So it doesn't really matter if you're using a double pedal or two bass drums, it's just a preference thing. Alright. You guys know Avenged Sevenfold?
I don't know.
Tom, you know Avenged Sevenfold?
Sorry.
Avenged Sevenfold? You heard of that band? There's some pretty awesome guitar players in that band.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to play this Avenged Sevenfold song. It's kind of a cool song. Don't pay too much attention to the vocal quality. It's terrible. I hate it. See, the way that they do these tracks is they're not, and this is kind of stupid. Like, you would think if let's say a band like Avenged Sevenfold was going to the studio and making a record, that they would also cut -1 musician, you know, for people to buy and play along with and stuff. Like, they don't do that. So the way that you get this stuff is other people are doing it, but they have to re-record it. So what you're actually hearing, everything I've done tonight, is not the actual band. It's reproduced by somebody covering it and making a recording without the drums. So on this particular recording, I feel like they did an okay job, but the singing's pretty bad. Now that I pointed it out, try to ignore it.
Oh, the guy singing?
The eyes bulging out of his head.
That roll towards the middle, that was four independent, wasn't it? I mean, to get that speed, the three drums and your alternating. The bass drums and the toms as you're rolling that. The sound.
Well, in this song with those fills, I was either doing something like this, or doing that down there, but faster on the top. But I wasn't alternating. I mean, I did a little bit over here.
That's the alternating part, right?
Like, no,
Okay,
this.
just-
There's some of that there. All right. I got a lot of songs I could do. Let's see. All right. This is more of a bar song, like you blues, you guys might. For hard rock though, like this is more of a, this is a hard rock song, but it's more of a blues hard rock. Okay.
I got a question. Do you ever use your hi-hat? I mean, are your feet always on your kicks?
Actually, I'm not using it like in the sense like I'm not opening and closing it, but there actually were a few moments in some of these songs where I want that shorter. So like, done that a couple times on a couple songs. Yeah, but because a lot of the stuff I'm doing is double bass oriented, I'm not doing a lot of open and close hi-hat stuff. See, one day I'll come out here and do a clinic on my little jazz kit, and that'll be a totally different thing, and I'm using the hi-hat a lot and that kind of stuff. All right. So this is a newer Metallica song. It's more of a rock song, less of a heavy metal song.
Yeah,
Was that song a remake?
You know, it could have been, I don't know. Metallica likes to take songs and cover them and just make them harder. That song's called Whiskey in a Jar. I don't know who does that other
It
than
almost
them.
sounds like an old Slade song.
Oh, who?
Slade.
Yeah.
Quiet Riot stole all their songs from Slade.
Yeah, I don't know enough to be honest with you, but it's possible. Metallica does a lot of that. All right. Play a couple more songs here.
You do
Yes,
any Rush?
I'm not doing any Rush. Well, we'll get Greg Thompson to come in here and do a Rush clinic sometime. So Greg Thompson, we've had him a few times. He does Zoso, which is the internationally touring Led Zeppelin tribute band. We've had him a few times for clinic, but he just started a Rush tribute band.
Yeah, I went to see.
Are they good?
Yeah, real good.
Really good?
Yeah, real good.
Yeah, we'll get him to do that sometime. Anybody have any desire to hear Enter Sandman?
Sure, that's good, yeah.
I mean, that's probably like the one song everybody knows.
Why not?
All right, we'll do it for the heck of it. It's not my particular favorite to play. It's kind
If you know it, Rachel, I know.
of cheesy.
Gringo time.
Right, Gringo.
In the last couple of years, I discovered this really cool band. I think they're cool. They're based out of, I think they're from Sweden or something. And they play, I guess they call it symphonic metal. Eric, do you know anything about this? All right. These two songs aren't really representative of most of their music, but they're pretty cool songs. I'm going to play two songs of theirs, but what they do is it's hard rock and metal, but sort of like a pop sensibility about it. Like the forms are easy to follow, it's kind of radio friendly. But they like using lots of keyboards with like string sounds and stuff. And the vocals are usually like more classical in nature. These two songs aren't really like aren't really like that so much, but this band's called Nightwish. They're pretty popular around most of the world, and they're just starting to get kind of big over here. I'm going to do a couple songs in there, so pretty cool. So, we should be wrapping up here. Thank you guys for coming out here, giving me a shot. Let me play some stuff for you guys, even though you probably weren't familiar with a lot of it. Unless you guys have any questions about anything or want me to show you some stuff, that's all I'm going to perform. Do you have any questions? No?
Did you model your tom sizes after anybody else's kit, or did you just figure out what you liked for you, or?
That's a good question. I would say probably in like the last 30 years, I'm guessing, manufacturers and players started caring more about the dimensions of their drums, and not just like the diameter, but the depth. And in the 80s, actually let's go back to the 70s. In the 70s, concert toms became really popular. Concert toms are the ones that don't have the bottom heads. They have the top head, the shell, there's no bottom head. They were really loud. I think people liked them because you could achieve specific tones, and they were easier to tune because you didn't have a bottom head to deal with. But in the
Clear, there was no muffle, there was no resonant, it was just, you hit that, it just really punched.
Yeah, like you got a big open shell at the bottom, so there's no real bouncing off inside of the drum. They're all right, you know, like it's a preference thing. But in the 80s, people started putting the bottom heads back on there again and exploring different drum sizes to see how they would impact sound. And in the 80s, power toms were big. Power toms were really deep toms, and they were used a lot in rock music. And all that said, so what started happening maybe the last 10 years or so is manufacturers started realizing that there's sort of a sweet spot in the depth of the shell. And so if you look at these drums, see if I can find an easy one to pull off. So usually, you know, when I was growing up, you had a tom-tom, the depth of the shell was usually bigger than the diameter of the head. You look at this, the shell depth is actually almost smaller. So these are designed to resonate really fast and then go away. So they're, my drums aren't tuned that great, but like you'll notice when I hit the tom, they don't ring forever. I have absolutely no muffling going on in here. I mean, I hit the drum and it goes away. You hear an immediate tone and then the rest of it just kind of goes away. Now, I like my drums tuned really open, so this works out really nice for me because I don't... A lot of people will try to tune their drums to sound good to them sitting behind the kit, but you're missing out on something. Is, you know, if you play at home by yourself and that's all you do, that's fine. But if you're playing live, that's not how you should be thinking about this. You should be thinking about what does my drum set sound like out there? Does it sound good out there? So I don't use a lot of muffling. If you tune your drums well, when you hit the drum, it should hit that magical pitch that you want. But then as it decays, it'll create a dissonance with itself that causes it actually to sort of cut out. So the decay is really quick. You know, it peaks fast and really decays really quick if your drums are tuned well. If they're not tuned well, then they might sound really muddy and washy and sound like trash cans. Tuning's hard though for drums because you got a lot of things to deal with. On one head, every tension rod affects that pitch. So from tension rod to tension rod, you might have different pitches going on. That's just one head. Then you have the shell, getting that one head to be in tune with the shell so the shell vibrates a certain way, sounds good. And then, oh my gosh, you got the bottom head now to deal with. So there's a lot of things going on there. And you know, if you're curious about my thoughts on it, if you go to YouTube and go to my channel, youtube.com/Tobin Wagstaff Music, look up drum tuning. I have a whole thing on there about drum tuning on there. But actually, what I did is when I hooked up with D-Drum, these drums are actually made out of alder wood, which is what they make Fender Stratocasters out of. And for some reason, nobody thought to do this. Like alder wood's actually inexpensive wood, but it sounds really good. And D-Drum was the first company to decide to experiment with alder wood, so they made this kit, which is called a reflex kit. This was one of the first kits that they made out of this wood. And when I went to their factory and checked it out, I fell in love with the sound of it, so I bought every drum that they had in it. You know, because I didn't want to have to go back and get like the 18-inch floor tom and see if they still had it in stock in the color that I wanted. I just went ahead and bought all of it. So, so you have a 8-inch, 10-inch, 12-inch, 13-inch racks, 14-inch, 16-inch, 18-inch floor toms, 22-inch bass drums. I like this setup for this kind of music, but I do play other music, so I have other drum sets that I use for that stuff. I have a few songs where I didn't play them tonight, but you know, I actually do use all these snare drums. I have 5 snare drums. I didn't have room to set up the last one, so I just didn't bother with it. But they all have different sounds, and I actually like them for different sounds on some of these songs. That's my main snare that I'm using. It's a steel Lars Ulrich signature snare, and I didn't get it because it said Lars Ulrich on it. I got it because it sounds amazing. This thing's heavy. You want to pass it around? Yeah. Seriously. Hurry up.
It's like you make a truck box out of it.
That really
Yeah.
is just rolled down.
No, it's for real. That's a real drum. So for this kind of music, I really like that one. It's really loud, and it pops through everything. But then for other things, you know, I'll use this popcorn snare. It's a 10-inch snare drum. And then I have a 13-inch here. And then another 14-inch that's wood and tuned differently than that one. So I actually use all this stuff. It's not in every song.
And the other one that you don't have set up is just
It's just an additional snare drum, just for looks, so I can play it and it sounds different. But I've turned into a little bit of a snare drum collector. I think I own something like 10 snare drums now. But I only keep a snare drum if it sounds good, it means something to me.
you don't have any percussion or any other than the gong. You actually have a flat gong.
No cowbell. Yeah, well, you know, I actually,
no blast blocks or anything.
I own stuff like that. I just don't talk. Yeah, you can leave that off or something like that. I have stuff. I have lots of percussion stuff. I just don't use it on this kit, and I don't use it for everything. Like my background's actually my music degree was an orchestral percussion music degree. So I studied a lot of orchestral percussion. But I did marching percussion. I've done world stuff. Done a lot of drum set. Pretty much, you name it, I've done it on some level. But drum set's just something I always go back to. And I mean, to be honest, like drum set's really the only thing you're gonna make money at anyway. You know, unless you're like the cream of the crop, there's only a handful of orchestral positions available. But you could be the guy who gets hired to play that one crash cymbal note in one of the orchestral, whatever symphonic pieces you're playing, and you might make $150,000 a year to get that one note right. That's how it works. But there's a lot of people that can get it right, so. Yeah. Anything else?
The kick drum, how are they held in place? You don't have the legs down, you don't have anything, they just sit on the pedal?
These are really cool. They do have legs, but I don't use them. Because they have rubber feet on the bottom.
Oh, okay.
And what's really cool about this is the shell doesn't touch the ground.
Right.
So it vibrates freely. If you have this whole shell on the ground, then you're muffling some of the resonance of the drum.
Right.
Then did you mount that? You put those on there yourself?
No, it came that way. That's part of the thing that I liked about this series. Is they actually
different type of lug.
Yeah, well, these lugs here, this is a little this is a little, well, you can see these are screwed in, okay? Now on the other ones, this is just a little plastic piece. You can pop that out.
It's got a little insert, okay.
And it's threaded in there. So you can actually, like, I think down the road they're going to come up with accessories and stuff that you can screw directly into the shell. And that's how these are done. Instead of having a suspended mounting system that like grabs the rim or grabs the tension rod, it's actually screwed into the lug itself.
That way you don't dampen the shell.
Yeah, that's the whole point in doing this anyway. So why are you gonna try to like design stuff to let the drum resonate and then screw extra holes into it or put things on it to make it bulkier and just cut the resonance down? So I mean, this is really the best system that I've seen personally. And D-Drum isn't paying me anything to endorse it, I just actually really like it.
Yeah,
It's small. It's got a very small profile, like usually these rim systems come out to here. So because it's small, I can fit these 4 drums in a really small space.
And I noticed you don't use the feet on the hi-hat?
Well,
No room?
yeah, I don't have room. You may have to come look at it, but what I've actually done here is I took some zip ties. I actually saw, I saw the drummer from Megadeth do this. He took a regular hi-hat stand and he put, he used string actually, but I thought zip ties were a better idea.
Oh,
So I made little loops out of zip ties on the hi-hat stand and then on these tension rods, and then I used rock climbing clips to hold it together.
yeah.
And the weight of the cymbal in this drum holds it in place. Because if I used the legs on it, then the hi-hat would be over here and it'd be cumbersome. to
So you
play
don't
with.
use a cable hi-hat or anything like that, you never?
No, I mean, I could, I just don't want to spend the money. I got this. It's
So then it
cheap.
would be on the rack and you'd be one less, yeah, but.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cool with this setup. Cable hi-hats have a little bit of lag in them, because it's not direct.
Right, right.
So anything that's a remote system is going to have a little bit of lag in it. I mean, it might work just fine, but I'm cool with this. This works for me.
And the kick ports in the front, you like it, huh? In the front of the bass drum?
Yeah,
You just insert it in a regular hole?
the kick port is, so you can port the front bass drum head for two reasons. One is to stick a microphone in there. The other reason is it actually helps the bass drum to cut out a little quicker because the air is going out faster. But what the kick port does is actually shaped kind of like a speaker cone. And so it's supposed to bring out a lot of the lower frequencies.
Tunes the port to the right.
I'm sorry?
It tunes the port so that you get the right low frequency resonance.
Yeah, and it's supposedly scientifically shown to do that. And I noticed a difference. I can't adequately explain how
Yeah,
it works.
it is better.
I feel like it works.
Acoustically, they're greater, but when you put a microphone in there, you kind of get the same thing either way. Through a microphone,
Well, you
but
can always
acoustically-
EQ stuff on a board however you want it.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm not miking these drums for this, so
Yeah.
you know, it's cool.
You like them when you play with the whiplash?
Yeah, we have to, because those, believe it or not, those guys play louder than I do. But, you know, that's heavy metal, those gloves. Yeah.
So do you mic each individual, or do you mic sections? Or?
Well, usually when they play live, most sound guys don't have enough drum mics for all my drums, so they do mic them in sections. They'll usually mic like the hi-hat, and then maybe like 2 toms at a time. And they usually don't mic this stuff for whatever reason, but it usually comes across just fine.
How long does it take you to set that up?
Not very long, actually. How long did who's you help me, Eric? You help me, right?
Yeah, something like 20 minutes.
20 minutes?
You leave a lot of this, a lot of the.
Yeah, the rock is
A
not,
lot of the
you know,
rack
not big
or
put
settings,
together.
when you leave that.
Well, I gotta back up
We need
anyway,
to get
so
one
what I
of
can
those for
do
Quinto people.
is show you how I do this. Is, you know, if I'm doing it right,
You
I'm
need
going
a-
to use
you need a bigger
spaces and
plastic
stuff,
thing
but I
to
don't
go
live far
around
from
it.
here, so I don't bother with it.
Like him and
But
Matt.
I'll literally like,
No, that's. No reason to just keep that on.
the reason for the rack is so I don't have to have a bunch of stands to do it.
We just talked about that when we were ready to go.
So like, literally, that's all I have to do with the drums. That's it. I can carry that out by myself, I can carry that out by myself. And then the rack,
Doesn't that affect the tuning?
not really. I mean, if I put a dent in it, maybe. But, yeah,
How hard are you pounding on it?
yeah.
And it's also the fact that you're really close to the edge. They're not much different in size. It's not like you're putting like one of those on top of the kick drum or something like that.
Well, you can even stack it on top of the kick drum. It doesn't really impact the sound that much. What impacts the tuning is really more temperature changes.
Yeah.
Like going from here to the car to my house, the drum set's going to sound different, so I have to retune it a little bit.
We'll be playing on side versus same side with the AC or whatever.
So,
The kick drum dampening that you have, where did you get that? Is that
see, so that's done. I just take this like this.
Is that part of the Evans head?
Yeah, that's Evans has these. I can't think of remember what they're called, but that's actually part of the head. I didn't buy this separately, but they make different inserts you can put in there for more or less dampening. I'm a big fan of open tuning, so this is good for me because I'm not putting a pillow in there, I'm not putting duct tape on everything. It's simple, it's on the edge, it controls it enough. So when I go with this rack, I'll usually take the wide cymbals off, maybe like some of the bigger cymbals, but like this is pretty much ready to go. All I do is,
Oh, you just take it. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, take every one of the symbols off.
it's a pain in the butt to do that. So when I go, I'll just set this in the back of my pickup truck, like that. You know, I'll lean it up against something. See how quickly that happens?
Yeah, right.
And then just pick it up and move it. You know, if I leave the cymbal on there, I'll need someone to help me, but literally, like, it's just a couple trips to the car. Now, if I put everything in bags and do it right, that takes a long time. If I go on a longer trip, I'll do that. But this is really the way to do it. It doesn't take that long to set up, because, like, I can just throw that rack back on here and just throw the toms back on there, and I'm done.
Well, the thing is, I used to tour with a guy, and he used to roll in, and he had a, literally, they were like the size of a refrigerator. He had 4 cases for his drums.
Yeah.
You put 2 kicks in a case, okay, that was 1 case. And, you know, he had, you know, case, and he had all these toms. He had 2, 4, 6, he had 6 racks, and he had 2 floor toms. And so, you know, it's like, we had 4 of these cases. I mean, it's like 4 refrigerators. I mean, when it was loaded in the truck, I loved it. And I wasn't the person who, we just rolled them in and the drum tech dealt with it. So I didn't have to deal with anything. Except the hardware case was incredibly heavy. That was everything he had to stand. He didn't have racks and that. That was back in like 80.
You learn really quickly playing out a lot. The drummer's #1 problem is all that. So these days I don't even.
Well, that's
go
why
for-
these guys only carry half their toms. Like, how the hell?
Yeah.
Well, the other kit that I mainly use is a 4-piece kit. It's a hip gig made by Yamaha. The bass drum diameter is a little smaller. The depth is about the same as this, but it has a part of the shell that unclips. You pull it apart, you put the toms and the snare inside the bass drum, you put the shell back together, and that goes in one bag. And then I got a duffel bag about this big that all the hardware goes in. Then I got my cymbal bag I put it under. So what I do is I take the drums, and then my cymbal bag, and then my duffel bag, and I put it on a furniture cart and go on this trip. I use that for all the the bar stuff that I do. Hey guys, if we're done, if you guys want to take off, you're welcome to take off. We're just shooting the So, thanks for coming out. I hope you enjoyed it. So I'll do this again in the future. Try to find some songs that people know.
I actually do.
I didn't hear about the song.
They're one of the guys,
Did you ever get in the Q Hall thing down one area? There was murals on the wall. Metallica was one of the murals.
Where is this?
Q Hall. Q Hall. Because you went.
Yeah, but I don't know that I took any classes at Q.
Well, no, that's the one.
Oh yeah, no, I never spent any time in the dorms.
Because down that thing, one night we just went, got a little stir crazy, we started painting murals all over the walls. One of them was an album cover from Metallica, and the other one was.
You were a part of that?
Oh, yeah. In fact, from the time we were undergrads till they destroyed Hume Hall and rebuilt it, nobody painted over it.
Yeah, I didn't up there, I didn't see it.
There was a building, the whole Boone County thing, I was responsible for that. And across the hall neighbor did bass Metallica, and we had a whole bunch of others. We just were bored one night. And then afterwards, we're like, we gotta